Hello lovely people, welcome or welcome back to my channel, Rain and Read Stuff. I'm Debs, I'm in the book shack and it's Sunday, so we're going to do a weekly reading wrap up. But first, I have something I need to ask you. I have recently gone over 1,000 subscribers, thank you very much, and apparently it's a booktube tradition when you do that to do a Q&A. So, I would like to know if there's anything you'd like to ask me. I'm open to all sorts of questions about pretty much anything, really. It can be about books, it can be about me, it can be about the book shack. Ask what you like. I was thinking maybe I'll leave it a week for people to ask any questions they would like answered, and then I'll do the Q&A video answering your questions the following week. So today is Sunday the 5th. Get your questions in by Sunday next week and we'll see how we go. Don't be too harsh. Actually, I don't mind. You can ask me anything you like. So down to what I've been reading this week. I'll do them, I think, in reading order. I finished this off. This is The Madness of Cthulhu. I read this for Greg at another Bibliophile Reads event over Christmas, Cthulhu Christmas. There were some good stories in here. There were some of them I really enjoyed. There were some of them I didn't enjoy so much. But I did like very much one called The Hollow Sky by Jason C. Eckhart. And another called Deep Fracture by Steve Raznick Tem, and 20,000 Years Under the Sea by Kevin J. Anderson. Overall, I thought this book was, it was great. And I'd never read specifically Cthulhu before. I will read some more at some point. Then I finished this, The Rattlebag. This was edited by Seamus, Heaney and Ted Hughes and is an anthology of poetry. I enjoyed this, and one of the reasons I enjoyed it is because it was listed in alphabetical order by title of poet. So you got a real mishmash of eras of poets, not by title of poet, by title of poem is what I'm trying to say. There were many in here that were translated from other languages. You can see that I've marked quite a few poems that I very much enjoyed. Some of those that I really enjoyed: Ogden Nash, Robert Frost, Walt Whitman, Sylvia Plath, Emily Dickinson. But there were numerous occasions where I was midway through reading a poem and I'm thinking, oh, I really like this one. And the poet was Thomas Hardy. And I must have thought that on probably 4 or 5 occasions. So that leads me to think that I should probably investigate the poetry of Thomas Hardy. I do have an e-collection of all Thomas Hardy's works. So I haven't had a look yet, but I'll have a look to see whether or not that inspires me. I finally finished this as well. This is A People's Tragedy by Orlando Figes. I was reading this for the last quarter of Historathon. I missed it by a few days. I finished it yesterday, I think. It's not the sort of book that I can just sit down and read from cover to cover. Every so often, I need to take a break and read something really light. This is excellent. It's called A People's Tragedy. It's the Russian Revolution from 1891 to 1924. And so it covers the last days of the Tsar and some of the mistakes that Fides believes he made in insisting that the rule of Russia was an autocracy, even though it says several times in here, Fides doesn't believe that Nicholas II was overly bright, or also that he wasn't destined to run anything really. It does say in here that he would have been happier being landed gentry rather than the Tsar. But anyway, it covers the build-up to the first revolution in 1905. And then it talks about the period between then and 1917, and the two revolutions in 1917, and then what happened afterwards. And it's quite in-depth. The research is meticulous, but also it uses first-hand accounts of events from diaries, from letters. It's fascinating. It's really interesting. It's quite a big read. So in between those, I read Paddington. You can't beat a bit of Paddington. The other thing is Michael Bond, who wrote all the Paddington stories, I found a little while ago a group, 3 books about a detective called Pomplamoose. Is that right? They're sitting over there. I have also read a detective novel by A. Milne, who wrote Winnie the Pooh. When I was a kid, this is real nostalgia. When I was a kid, I absolutely loved Paddington at Large. He gets into all sorts of trouble in this one. And also it's Christmassy. There's 2 chapters at the end, one of which he's taking part in a pantomime. But I'm interested in the fact that both of these authors are famous for their children's books. I had no idea that they wrote other things until I came across these books accidentally and then Googled it. I have read A. Milne's The Red House, which is absolutely brilliant. That's a real golden era crime novel, which bizarrely I found out about by reading a Japanese detective novel in which it was featured, which is just odd. Anyway, that was a bit of light relief. And then I found this lurking on the bookshelves inside. This is called And What Do They Call You? And this is a collection, well, it says an anthology of new writing. Specifically, it has been put together by Launderette Books, which is based at Nottingham Trent University. And it is a collection of people who they're either from Nottingham or they have connections with Nottingham. When it says new writing, I did buy it new, but this last edition, I think this is the latest edition of it. It was first published in 2019. So although I bought it new, I bought it late. I'm not sure if they did anything over the COVID lockdowns. Nottingham Trent University has a quite renowned creative writing unit. They do both a BA and a master's in creative writing. But this was great. It includes stories and poetry, very varied. I particularly liked one called Passing Through Gethsemane by a guy called Darren Bowley, and I'll have to have a look to see what else he's done since 1999. His was a short story about transporting a home on the back of a flatbed lorry halfway across America. It was very good. There's one in here that is it's inspired by the Brothers Grimm, and it's a fairy story. There's lots of interesting poetry. There is one in here, there's one piece in here where, although they use punctuation, there are absolutely no capital letters. Now, that upset me. I sort of like punctuation and capital letters. Call me fussy, but I do. I think it's, I spent many years as a sub-editor and editing newspapers, and I like punctuation and I like capital letters. I know it's cool and trendy not to use either, but I think that makes it difficult. Now, lastly, this is a bit of an odd one. A couple of months ago, my mum gave me a box of old books that, to cut a long story short, she'd acquired these books and she knows I like old books, so she gave me a box of them, which I duly dumped on the floor somewhere upstairs and completely forgot about. So I've been starting on the mammoth task of reorganizing my bookshelves. I don't want to do this. I think it's a very bad idea. But anyway, I went to have a look at these books, and in there I found this. Ella's Brown Gown by W.L. Rooper. The W standing for Wilhelmina, apparently. This is quite a quaint story, obviously aimed at children, where this lonely orphan girl who lives with her aunt is extremely excited about going to visit one of her aunt's friends who has got her two granddaughters staying with her. Ella is very lonely and is desperate to find some friends. Her aunt sadly thinks friends are unnecessary, and she has become a bit prim and proper. She spends all her time with adults. So she's absolutely delighted to go off to spend the day with these two young girls. The trouble is, the two girls turn out not to be very nice. The elder one is called Florence. The younger one is called Cicely. They are both very outdoorsy. They are also quite blunt. They tell Ella she's fat, that her dress is wrong. They play tricks on her. But then it all turns out all right in the end. Now, I was looking through this book trying to find a date on it, and I couldn't. But there is a mention of whether or not you should talk to the Queen before you're invited to talk to the Queen. So this places it in the Victorian times. And when I looked Wilhelmina Rooper up, She appears to have written several children's books and also some hymns, but I can't find any biographical details about her. I can find this book for sale, but there aren't any biographical details about the author. I looked her up on Project Gutenberg to see if there was anything else by her. There is nothing. There is nothing by her at all. So this is going to lead me down a rabbit hole because I want to know about her. The other thing that is confusing me is, look at this lovely front cover. I think it's great. However, there isn't a boy in this book. In fact, the only male character is the great uncle of Cicely and Florence. He is the only male character in the entire book. We have the aunt, we have the grandmother, we have the three young girls, we have serving women who are both women. The other thing is, the whole point of Ella's brown gown is that she is sent to visit this household, this grandmother and granddaughters, wearing a full-length white and brown muslin dress, which she proceeds to trip over on numerous occasions. This girl is not wearing that. This girl is wearing knee-length boots and looks quite fashionable. She doesn't look Victorian at all. So I'm wondering where this cover came from. Anyway, it was a fun little read. And all 6 of my reads for this week, completed reads, are physical books. So, update on the Read What You Own challenge, which is organised by the evil mastermind Criminally, together with Greg at Another Bibliophile Reads, and Crystal at Fibre Artsy, and MJ at Reading This Life. I have pledged to read 125 physical books before I buy any more physical books. Very specifically, physical books. These 6 have brought me up to 50, which is sort of about on track. I would like then to read the additional 75 in 25 book increments in January, February and March. But I've got a lot of reading happening in January. Where's my list? Here's my list. And of the books that I've said I'm definitely going to read, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them are physical books, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 I've got on ebook. So at some point during this month, I'm going to have to try and put in another 19 physical books. And I'm not sure that's doable. I'll give it a damn good go, but it seems quite a big ask. Anyway, what with New Year and everything, this week has been disrupted reading. I'm hoping I'll get back to my normal sort of schedule from tomorrow. I've got a lot of good reads coming up, but like I say, not all of them are physical books. I hope you've had a really good start to 2025, and let me know what you've been reading. And also, remember, if you want to ask me a question for the traditional booktube Q&A, please let me know. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'm always glad to see you, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye for now.